Abu Dhabi's international holding company, better known as IHC, has thrown its support behind Adani Group companies after a damning report by a U.S.-based short seller sent shares into a tailspin. Bloomberg's Simone Foxman has more on this. So clearly Adani Group needs the money, but what do we know about the rationale from the IHC side?
Well, explicitly, according to the CEO of IHC, this is all about belief in the underlying fundamentals of Adani Group and sort of the long-term perspective for the company generally. That's what he said in a statement coming out yesterday. But there's a couple more factors at play. One, IHC is already a substantial investor in several companies under this Adani Group umbrella. So, do you want to protect your existing investments? Some $2 billion into these companies late last year. Another thing is the kind of infrastructure and assets that Adani owns. There are things like ports, airports, data centers, renewable energy infrastructure. Those things, while maybe having a long-term trajectory that looks positive, are also things that the UAE generally wants to invest in and has been looking to expand its trade ties with places like India beyond some of its already existing trade relationships. Remember, IHC very closely tied to the Abu Dhabi royal family. The chairman is the brother of the UAE president, and guess who else might be coming along, according to reports, and investing in the crucial share sale today? ADIA, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. So there's clearly some strategic reasons also to be invested in this group, maybe throw your support behind it and help it get through perhaps this difficult, challenging moment.
And then the schedule for the Saudi-backed Live Golf reveals at least 3 tournaments would be taking place at golf courses owned by the former U.S. President Donald Trump. Put that in context.
Yeah, not exactly a surprise that we're going to see some of these tournaments at Trump-owned properties, but a little bit surprising that we're going to see a full 3 out of the 14 announced tournaments being held at Trump properties. We did see one back in July that was held at one Trump property, but clearly Donald Trump kind of leaning into this Live Golf thing. Live Golf has been quite controversial in the United States because it's kind of run up against the PGA Tour, the existing golf mechanism and competition structure. But fans of President Donald Trump have, for the most part, gone along with him in supporting some of these Live Golf tournaments. We've seen it actually at play on the course in some of these events. For Saudi Arabia, too, which backs Live Golf, you have to imagine that this deal, which brings them a little bit closer to the president, who, by the way, lost the PGA Tour event at his Doral Resort back in 2016, if he does end up back in office come 2025, that could be a lovely way to have that open line of communication.
And then to Israel, where the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, began a visit yesterday. I'll put that on hold for a second there, Simone, because we are getting breaking news from UBS, the heavyweight Swiss lender. Cost savings in focus, a couple of other points as well. Your fourth quarter asset management pre-tax is here. I'm looking for the net income line. That is $1.65 billion. The market had been looking for $1.29 billion. So that is a clear beat on the fourth quarter net income line, which becomes your red headline on the terminal. The total revenue is $8.03 billion. The market had been looking for $7.93 billion. So that is also a beat. It was about cost savings and a potential update on share buybacks. So that becomes your second red headline. UBS is going to buy back more than $5 billion of shares in 2023 at a high level of surplus of capital will basically enable this bank to do that. And so you get the update on the buyback. You get the update on the guidance as well. They're proposing the 2022 dividend per share to be 55 cents, which is bigger than the dividend in the prior year of 50 cents. Bloomberg Intelligence going into this wrote that the cost control is going to help profitability, and you have this discipline that's core to this year. The bank is on track to deliver $1 billion of cost savings by 2023. Compensation expenses are, of course, under control. And I look at analysts, and they are positive. Such a contrast to Credit Suisse. 16 buys, 9 holds, and 2 sells. The usual share move we get after an earnings announcement is about 3.7%. There is an update on the repurchase program for 2022. They said that they have repurchased $5.6 billion of shares in 2022, but a clear beat on the net income line and a clear beat on the revenue line. You get the buyback, $5 billion of shares in 2023, and then the wealth management pre-tax coming in line with estimates of $1.04 billion. A lot of positive angles to this conversation, and we're going to flesh that out, of course, in a little bit more detail with the CEO of UBS. But now I want to get back to Simone Foxman, who has been patiently waiting as we cut through these numbers. I want to switch gears, talk about Israel, because the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken began a visit yesterday. How did that go?
Yeah, we were patiently watching out for headlines out of this visit as well. It's actually could have been quite contentious. The Biden administration, quite progressive, has not been on the same page with Benjamin Netanyahu and his most right-wing Israeli government ever about everything. But frankly, the tone that Blinken has struck has been pretty conciliatory. He's talked about calming tensions between Israeli and Palestinians, taken a pretty soft line essentially on West Bank expansion, especially after some shootings at a synagogue late last week. Also things like Iran, talking about how the U.S. will be there to support Israel on Iran. That support hasn't always been assured because Netanyahu has wanted to be much more aggressive often than the Biden administration has. And there haven't been overly critical comments about some of the judicial reforms that the Netanyahu coalition is seeking to perform. Blinken talking about how both the U.S. and Israel will remain strong democracies. We did see Blinken pull out a reference to the two-state solution. That's something that the Netanyahu government has not talked about for a very long time. And we'll see if we do get any little inkling of a little bit of animosity or angst as Blinken's visit continues today.